everyone. I am Jenna. This is Jennifer Merida, Certified Divorce Financial Analyst with the Tranel Financial Group. We are coming to you with the last main issue of going through a divorce. So we've talked previously about finances, assets, children. This last topic we want to talk to you about is emotions. And I think that emotions are prevalent and they get pushed to the back burner a lot of the times, right?
They're not given enough credit.
Yes. And it's talking about suppressing them, right? Being there for your children, all of these different things, they're not talked about enough. And so I want to talk to you guys today. So we're going to talk to Jennifer about emotions through divorce and the impact that can have and how we deal with them when working with you. So Jennifer, when someone is going through a divorce, right? And it's an emotional time. You obviously know this too, as you have so many clients that are doing this. How do you coach them and how do you work through someone who is emotional during a divorce?
Well, first I acknowledge it because a lot of times people are ashamed of their emotions or they have preconceived notions of how they should react, right? Because they're in control all the time before. They should be in control now, even though their life is turned upside down in most cases. Right. So really, I talk really upfront about emotions in divorce because they impact so many things. So we first talk about how to deal with the emotions. Having a separate notebook, or if you want to call it a journal, some people get afraid of that word, but having a notebook of how you're feeling and writing down what, you can get habits of what's triggering you, what is making you upset that the other person or other side is saying. And you can really track trends that way. But honestly, it gives you a chance to get it out of your head and onto paper. And that's so powerful in many areas, but especially in controlling your emotions, to the fact of not controlling your emotions that you should be a certain way, but to be how you want to be and how you want the outcome. And a lot of times after divorce is final, a lot of people will say, man, I don't know why I made that decision. And it's really about, okay, let's try to get through this and make those best decisions possible. So a couple of things. So we talked about journaling or writing it down in a notebook, pausing, take a breath, right? People can come at us in so many ways: text, email, phone calls, voicemails, and they're invading our space. So take a breath. Like, just because somebody texts you something, first of all, doesn't mean it's the truth. Second of all, doesn't mean
such a good point. Such a good point.
Right? A lot of times people are like, well, they said that they're not going to give me the 401k. Well, they're not the ultimate law, right? So we just need to take a step back and take a breath, read through it again, put the phone down, and don't respond right away, right? That's the whole thing. When you respond right away, then it's a back and forth that never ends well. Like, think about when the last time you had a text war with somebody, did it end well? It didn't.
Right.
So really take that breath and think about it. Sleep on decisions overnight. That is another really great way to control your emotions. When you wake up, do you feel the same about it? A lot of times in our sleep, we can get a lot of clarity, and in the morning, the best time to think for a lot of people. And I just take the pause. If you can't do it overnight, just take a pause and think before you react or before you say something, because it is fun. We know how to, in a divorce, you've been married to the person, you know what triggers them. You know how to hurt the other side.
Right.
So if they're doing it to you, fine, right? That you can't control that person, but you can control yourself. And at the end of the day, you're going to feel better that way. So those are just a couple tactics I talk about to my clients to really control the emotions. And then next we can go into why. I don't know if you have another.
Yeah, absolutely.
keep going into this whole thing. So
the one thing I do want to add though, really quick. So I've worked with Jennifer, and I've also seen her have almost like scripts available too. And I think that's really powerful of utilizing that third party to ask, what's the best way to respond to something like this, right? And I know that, and I understand that everything's not, a one stop and it doesn't fit into it, but I've seen Jennifer type up stuff for the client to say, this would be the best way to respond, because it's a very neutral way. And I think that's really important, because I think you think you're by yourself a lot of the time, and you're not, right? You have someone there to work with you who's going to help you figure out what's the best script, what's the best way to respond to something of this nature where the emotions are removed. And I think that's really powerful. I don't think that's talked about enough, even with attorneys or CDFAs as well.
That's a great point. Cause clients in the beginning are saying, okay, how, what's the benefit? How am I going to work with you? So the financial benefit is, tenfold worth it. But then, I met with a client last week and she said, hey, he responded this way about this situation with the kids. How would you respond? So I was able to really be right. The lawyer is not there anymore after divorce, really. Or if they did talk to you about it, it was going to charge you by the hour. I'm there for you as a partner because we signed that agreement in the beginning that, I know the situation. So I just said, hey, I would respond this way. And then she can make it her own, but you kind of have that sounding board. And that was really helpful for her. And yes, I do that in a lot of cases for negotiations during divorce as well. Say, hey, let's try to, let's phrase it this way and try to get, this negotiation piece, which goes right into my next point. Is that the feelings are always going to be there. The more you are in control, first of all, the less money you're going to spend, right? Going back and forth. Because all of a sudden lawyers, I work with a lot of couples, which is awesome, that are going to go through divorce, but they work with me so we can split everything out. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it just means that their emotions are in check and they're understanding the facts. So even if it's one side, really, you're in control of those decisions. And you're also able to negotiate a lot better because if your emotions are in check and you're not saying, hey, I'm feeling guilty, right? That's one. If you're asking for the divorce, you could feel guilty. Also, are you feeling hopeful that if you just give in to everything and you're nice, that they're going to come back? So it's really layered when you're trying to make these decisions. So either you're guilty, you're trying to be nice, or maybe they'll be nicer to me if I give this. You realize it's not going to be the case a lot of times, but then you're just tired, right? You're trying to work, you're trying to raise children, and those are very exhausting things just by themselves. But then you're going through a divorce and you're asked to make all these decisions, not on the fly, but like right away. Like it's pretty immediate process of like, hey, what do you want to do with the house? What do you want to do with the 401k? How about this savings? Well, what about this situation?
Right.
So if we can lay all those options out in a very neutral format,
right,
doesn't mean you don't have those emotions, but what it means is when the other side comes at you with something, you can say, hey, no, I've already looked at this and this isn't going to work for me, but let's try this. So it ends up putting you in control in the driver's seat, which is exactly where you want to be.
Right.
And it ends up costing you less money because you don't have to go back and forth with the lawyers, or maybe the lawyer can just draw up the documents, but you understand your situation. Because like I said, kids and finances are the two biggest decisions that you have to make. And we want to be in control for both of those, because if you make the best financial decisions and you have the best emotions and control, maybe co-parenting, like we said last time, it's going to go better for the kids. Ultimately, the better money decisions you make is better for the children, or better for your future.
Absolutely.
And also better really for the communication between the two, because you will have to communicate if there's kids for even past 18. There's weddings, there's grandchildren. So just setting yourself up. So that's how the CDFA helps, because we're able to give those options, and I'm a partner with you. I'm part of your team to build those options for you to make the best decisions for your situation. Because also what happens, I know I'm going into it, but
go do
talk
it.
to a friend that's been through a divorce and they say, well, I got this, you shouldn't get this, because they're on your side. They're trying to they're trying to not coach you, they're trying to build you up or show their support. But sometimes that can fuel fire. Fire is expensive. Don't have fire. Come to me, come to a CDFA and say, hey, Jennifer, this is a situation that happened here, right? Because there's two sides to every story. And you're only getting one of the sides. And the situation is not your situation. Even if it's the same kids or same number of kids, the situation is not the same. There's things you don't know. So come to me, absolutely. I will know the facts for you, and I will give you your options so we can get through this the best way for you possible. And then we can start planning for your new future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So that's a lot of information, right? That's the end of our mini series that we have currently right now. We talked again, a lot of different aspects of divorce, because divorce is not easy. Divorce is not simple. Divorce is complex, right? And we want to make sure that we're constantly talking about those complexities so that you have self-awareness of what you're getting into and who to partner with, whether it's whatever lawyer it is, whatever CDFA it is, whatever mortgage broker it is. The list goes on. Just to be aware that you have these options and to be aware of how they can impact your future is so, so important. I feel a lot of people, when they go through this complexity in their life, it tends to be a little bit more taboo. So these items are not fully disclosed, and that's important to that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Best way to get a hold of us, 847-680-9050, and ask for Jennifer Merida, Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. Have a great day.
Thank you.